The single worst kept secret in F1 history is out now. Esteban Ocon has signed for Haas F1. We knew that he was leaving Alpine. Some amongst you, those with a discerning eye, knew that he was joining Haas. Andrew Benson had said as much on his Q&A. However, now we get the official news, which has been released from embargo as of T-2 hours ago. This is techie. This is really, really techie, because when you talk about Esteban Ocon, you've got to talk about a driver of not insubstantial talents. He can drive a Formula One car. He's fast. He's racy. Some would argue too aggressive. So in that vein, if those are your key metrics, then of course sign him. It makes sense from a Haas F1 perspective, does it not? But you've got to be balanced, because that speed doesn't come without foibles and travails. He is too aggressive. He has a penchant, a habit of crashing into his teammate. Therefore, what are we doing? Putting him alongside one Ollie Bearman. It's the chap's first season in Formula One. For the avoidance of doubt, the problem is this. For Ollie Bearman, a Haas F1 team driving alongside a Nico Hülkenberg is a very different proposition from a Haas F1 team driving alongside a killer such as Esteban Ocon. Oh, the humanity, Eddie. What are we doing here, living on the edge? Let me read out the statement and the announcement, and then we'll dive deeper into it. Esteban Ocon on Twitter said, "I'm very proud to announce that I'll be joining Haas F1 in 2025 on a multi-year deal." I don't know why all these drivers are always talking about multi-year deal. What happened to the good old age of being able to say I'm signing a 3 or 4 or 5 or 1 year deal? It's always multi-year deal, which means, I think, conjecture and speculation always, but I think this means potentially it's a 2-year deal, a 1+1, so there will be options in there to extend or cease. Techie. I'm thrilled to embark on this new chapter in my F1 career, Esteban Ocon says, and join an ambitious racing team whose spirit, work ethic and undeniable upward trajectory has really impressed me. Is that all? Is he saying that his current team don't have those traits? I feel like there's subliminal digs in what he said. Let me read it again. I'm thrilled to embark on this new chapter in my F1 career and join an ambitious racing team whose spirit, work ethic and undeniable upward trajectory has really impressed me. He's saying that he doesn't currently have that at Alpine, isn't he? Particularly as far as the upward trajectory is concerned, if I could even pronounce that. I'd like to thank Gene and Io for our honest and fruitful discussions these last few months. Haas F1 team has big plans and clear targets for the future. I'm looking forward to reuniting with Io, my first ever F1 engineer, as well as working with everyone in Canapolis, Banbury and Maranello. Way to have so many different bases, Haas. Do you know what I mean? Split your resource and all that. Like, that's the most efficient way to win F1 races. It is not. For the avoidance of that. For now, my focus, continues Esteban Ocon, and energy is still fully dedicated to Alpine F1 team. I've got 11 races to go this year, and I'm more motivated than ever to end my 5-year collaboration with the team on a high. Oh, Esteban, where do we go with that? I don't know. He tried to be respectful, but there are subliminals, right? Read between the lines. It's like the rules and the regs, right? You read that statement not for what it says, but for what it doesn't say. The implicit subliminals dig. Listen, I think he's tight. I think it's a blessing in disguise. Listen, he wanted to stay. Well, did he want to stay? There was rumour that he was going to leave anyway. But again, his performance at Monaco, crashing into his teammate, sabotage, extraordinaire settings, that expedited for his learning curve and his exit indeed out of the French team. How very dare you, Esteban Ocon, think it's a good idea to crash into your French teammate at the Monaco Grand Prix? A Grand Prix where all the key Alpine stakeholders will be there discussing. Laurent de Mayo told you. Do not crash, chap. It's one thing that you don't need to do at Monaco. This, our home Grand Prix in essence. That, chap, is do not crash, and particularly not into your teammate. Oh, the humanity. But this gets techier. Ocon joins Haas for 2025, says Autosport on a multi-year deal. The move links back up Esteban Ocon with Haas team principal Ayo, who worked as the Frenchman's first race engineer when he completed his F1 test for what was then the Lotus squad after he had won the 2014 European Formula 3 Championship back when he shared the days running in Abu Dhabi with GP3 champion Alex Lynn, with car problems interrupting Esteban Ocon's lap. So the relationship between Esteban Ocon and Ayo goes deep. And I think Esteban Ocon will have to leverage that relationship. Again, nothing with Esteban Ocon is without foibles and travails. Speak to the drivers currently on the grid. None of them will say anything necessarily about his potential, his speed, his racecraft. Okay, so he's too aggressive from time to time and he has crashes. But as a first order priority, each and every single time the drivers talk about his personality, the deficits, that fundamentally he's not a nice guy. And I've always struggled with this. Because in front of the world's press and media, the cameras always say something that's diametrically opposed. He seems like a nice guy, right? If a bit cringe-worthy, you remember Esty Bestie at his Monaco podium a couple of years ago. He's not the most charismatic of chaps, but a scumbag. I don't know. I don't think he's that, or at least that's not what the evidence suggests, is it? But again, speak to any one of those drivers, and one thing you can be sure about is that they do not like him. His personality rubs them up the wrong way. You'll remember the cheeky interaction, the love kiss, when he tried to unlap himself a few years ago at the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Maximilian Verstappen came for him in earnest. Fisticuffs, handbags at dawn, pushed Esteban Ocon in his chest. Did he not? And again, it looks like their relationship has cooled since. However, I'm guaranteed if you speak to Maximilian Verstappen behind closed doors, I'm not sure it's a whole lot of love between those two. Max Verstappen doesn't forgive. Yeah, nor does he forget. But go on, here's the upshot. And this is what I want you to take home from this. Ollie Bearman. Ollie Bearman is the new fish in this F1 equation. He will be joining Haas F1 as at 2025. He will be joining that driver partnership alongside the Frenchman Esteban Ocon. Listen, good luck, Ollie Bearman. Because Esteban Ocon, as far as a cheeky love kiss between him and his teammate, that overly aggressive nature, again, moth to a flame settings. If indeed there is a gap, he will go for it, particularly if it's up the inside. Ambitious, though, of his teammate. Fernando El Pan Alonso, man from Oviedo, Astoria, will tell you as much. Every single teammate that Esteban Ocon's ever driven with will tell you as much. Pierre Gasly will tell you as much, that he's too aggressive and he's too moth to a flame. Every single time fails to chew his automotive pugilistic food before he swallows it. Set up the move, Esteban. Let it come to you, chap. Don't be so eager, because in doing that, you leave yourself open to DNFs and team sabotage accusations. I only say all of that to say this. Spare a thought for Ollie Bearman, who at the time of his signing, the proposition was get some stewardship from Nico Hülkenberg. Nico Hülkenberg is a brilliant driver. You need to go and see his pedigree, what he's done coming up through the feeder for him. Yeah, of course, they will criticise him, say he's never got a podium, and he's been driving an F1 car for longer than anybody who you can say that about. Cool, of course, but let's look at the process and not the outcomes. He's a solid driver. And if you're new in F1, who better to learn from than a Nico Hülkenberg? Passive, again, knows how to drive a car, where to put his Formula 1 machine. So again, I say for the avoidance of doubt, the proposition now for Ollie Bearman of driving in a Haas F1 car alongside an Esteban Ocon is a very different proposition as versus driving alongside Nico Hülkenberg. I will put it to you this way. You guys tell me in the chat who you'd like to drive alongside, Nico Hülkenberg or one Esteban Ocon. Prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.